And you know what? I like roids in professional wrestling, just like I like roids in Major League Baseball. Bring back the roids, okay? I want 70 home runs a season, okay? I want guys whose heads look like Tic Tacs on their shoulders, okay? You can't tell me that the 90s baseball wasn't more entertaining than today's baseball.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the 5-Star Jobbers Podcast. I'm Cody.
And I don't understand how if you have a neck injury that you can do this on live TV.
Yeah, I don't think that he sold that very well.
It was
in any capacity.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, at first I saw it and I was like, oh, that's so cool. He's wearing a neck brace on the draft.
Right. Like he's selling it very well.
He's getting exposure for AEW on NFL Draft, which is it's going to be, I mean, compared to Dynamite and Collision numbers, I mean, like 100 times more viewers than what they have. But then he starts doing this. And I'm like, okay, I'm not a worker proper, okay? My bump card has like 2 notches on it, and they're self-inflicted. But I know better. I mean, just from being a kid trying to get out of school, to fake an injury, if your neck is hurt, you do this.
You move the whole body. You don't move
it's in the shoulders. But when your neck's hurt, you don't do that.
No. But yeah.
So someone needs to smarten Tony up on how to sell.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess you could say that about the entire AEW roster.
True. Very true. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching and thank you for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe. Comment on everything that we've got so far. If you want to find us on social media, we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can find all of our commentary episodes on there and subscribe to all of our channel stuff. But also, we want to let you guys know of some upcoming events, and we've got a special announcement about one of these coming up. First off, May 3rd, this weekend, Kingdom Pro Wrestling After Dark will be at 201 Tapas Lounge in Savannah, Georgia. VIP will be open at 7, general admissions at 7:30, and bell time is at 8. Great event. Don't want to miss out on that. May 4th, New South Pro Wrestling will present the Bunkhouse Stampede at the Singer River Brewery in Florence, Alabama. Doors open at 6:30, and bell time is at 7:30. Going to be a great event. Also, May 4th, the Guardians Legacy presents May Day. It's going to be in Panama City, Florida at Rosenwald High School Gym at 6 p.m. But with that, we want to make a special announcement. If you haven't seen it already on social media from the Guardians page itself, we have made a partnership with the Guardians Legacy. We will now be their official commentary team going forward from here on out.
I got a body for radio, and now I got a face for TV.
That's right. CW will be airing episodes of the Guardians Legacy later in the summer. More information on that will be announced on Guardians Legacy page, I'm sure. But we are so excited to be partnering with the Guardians Legacy and to be a part of this and to help them with their events and do commentary and just do what we love, is just call the action, be commentators, enjoy just watching professional wrestling and get to share our passion with everybody else.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, Guardians Legacy has some of the best indie talent, that we have seen. I mean, we've gotten to see so much regional talent all over North Florida, Central Florida, South Georgia, South Alabama, Mississippi areas. And, you've got, so many amazing talents that are at Guardians Legacy. And to be able to call those matches and also to be able to work with the amazing talents that are working in the background to produce the Guardians Legacy every month and what they're going to be doing on the CW. I can't wait to see it for one, but to actually be a part of it as well and to be able to have a contribution to such a great product. I mean, I'm just beyond excited.
Absolutely. So, huge thank you to Skip for allowing us to be a part of this, and thank you to everybody at Guardians Legacy. We look forward to working with all of you. It's going to be fantastic. Everybody go and check out Guardians Legacy this weekend, May 4th. In Panama City, Florida, at Rosenwald High School Gym.
And make sure to go on to YouTube, Facebook, and all the socials and subscribe to the Guardians Legacy so you can get up to date information about who's going to be at the events, when the events are, where the events are. Because, I mean, you can't always count on this guy. Sometimes he'll just tell you all kinds of things that are wrong.
Whatever. But anyway, guys, I didn't really have a segment in mind for this episode because there's a lot of things that have been going on just this past week. And so there's mainly two things that I wanted to try and talk about or wanted us to try and touch on. Two really big things. One being night one of the draft in WWE. Some pretty interesting picks and some pretty interesting shakeups happened. I'll get into why I say that.
Well, yeah. We'll go into that.
But also, we'll get into this right now. Jack Perry is back in AEW.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah. I am kind of conflicted about how to feel about this. And on the one hand, I get it. He's got a lot of heat. He's siding with the Young Bucks, who already have heat with AEW, in AEW, excuse me. But at the same time, I'm not really sure how to feel about the trajectory of where this is going.
Well, I think that I think you, me, a lot of us are probably the same way as that after the Thursday debacle, Friday's debacle with the draft. Thursday night's debacle with the draft. After seeing Tony's sell job, that's where I think a lot of people went from, oh, this is interesting, to, oh, this might not be very good.
Yeah, overall, the Wednesday night was just kind of a flop altogether.
It was not good.
No. I held out hope because I thought, okay, Jack Perry's going to be appearing on AEW. We're going to find some kind of storyline going forward now, and it's going to hopefully lead to a better card for Double or Nothing.
Well, here's the thing about AEW Dynamite this week. It's like I did not watch it live. I ended up watching it on like Thursday afternoon, and I saw so much, activity, online, everybody talking about everything that happened. I was like, wow, this sounds like it was a great episode. I can't wait to watch it.
Right.
And it was a giant turd sandwich.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you ever built into a ham and cheese sandwich that instead of ham, you got straight up funky beef, like funky fungus meat?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what this was. At the end of the day, every segment was like well-intended, but terrible follow-through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, start from the beginning with everything. Like, you have your world champion in a throwaway match at the beginning of the night. Like, no celebration, no, like, promo, just, like, I mean, Swerve's a great talent. Fletcher's a great talent. But he literally wins the title from Samoa Joe, who was, one of the biggest names in professional wrestling, right, for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And he's going to go from beating Samoa Joe to having just a random match. Like, it wasn't for the title. It wasn't for any kind of grudge. It was just Swerve versus Kyle Fletcher in a curtain, and almost not even really a curtain puller, because there was some stuff that happened before the match that had nothing to do with theirs. But why?
Honestly, I have no idea, and it goes back to poor booking on AEW's part, just poor storytelling.
So then you have that. Then you have, we also have something that I've been waiting for a really long time, which is the turn of Trent Beretta on Best Friends. Like, I've been, if you've listened to this show long enough, you've heard me talk about Trent Beretta, that I think Trent Beretta is a highly underutilized talent.
Yeah.
And that I would like to see him have a solo career. So when Trent turned on Orange Cassidy the other week, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is going to be great. Now let's see where it goes. Is Chuck going to turn with Trent or not? And then you've got these guys who have been, like they said, their tag team is the Best Friends, and they've been the best friends in a tag team for 6-7 years now,
roughly.
And Trent comes out, and he tells his story. He tells his side of the story. He cuts a promo that makes sense. Like, you're listening to it, and you're like, okay, he's still a bad guy, right? But we can kind of understand where he's coming from.
It's almost like he's justified.
He's a justified bad guy. And that's my favorite thing in the world, is when a bad guy is justified. Like, he's not lying. He's not telling you something that's not true. The Best Friends 100% did take Orange Cassidy under their wing and helped him and then he grew to being more over than they were. So it's understandable that he would be a little bit bitter, jealous. Those aren't good personality traits, but they're understandable.
Yeah, exactly.
So then he gives the microphone over to Chuck, and we're like, okay, where's Chuck Taylor going to go? And Chuck Taylor goes, I never liked you. Like, that's the line you're going to deliver? Like, that's what... And then he hits him over the head with a microphone, which, by the way, a microphone shot on a guy's head when we've got guys who... this is the team that has parking lot brawls, like, every month for some reason. And
he barely even taps him on the head with a microphone.
Him on the head after going, I never really liked you anyways, or I always thought you were an a-hole. Like...
It's...
Way to just literally... Just, here's a story, and then the story's over.
Yeah, exactly. I mean... It's just gone downhill from here, and I honestly, I don't see how they're going to dig up from this. I just don't. Unless something drastic happens when Kenny Omega returns, and we have some kind of announcement as to who Swerve's going to face at Double or Nothing. But honestly,
well, I like Adam Cole's back with the Undisputed Kingdom, and they've kind of mentioned it, but. Adam's still like literally walking around with like a little bit of a limp, looking like he doesn't even need to be anywhere near a wrestling ring.
No, he doesn't.
I have no idea what the purpose of that is. But then yes, let's talk about the feature of the night. So the Young Bucks arrive at the beginning of the show, and they've got Jack Perry, and just like I said last week. Great, fine. You're not going to hear me say I'm a Jack Perry fan. I've crapped on Jack Perry since the all in issue. Like, I was a Jack Perry fan ahead of time. I was cheering for Jack Perry to have a heel turn and to be a heel. I was patient with Jack Perry as he was finding his way as a heel. But then when he goes into business for himself against a veteran who is the marquee moneymaker for the promotion, that's just stupid business, and I can't get behind that for 2 seconds. And then 8 months goes by. CM Punk goes to WWE. Jack Perry's nowhere to be seen, and then he shows up on a Japanese show and tears up his contract. And you think, okay, so Jack Perry's gone. Cool. Hopefully he'll have some time in Japan. He can grow a little bit more. Maybe make a name for himself in Japan. Come back to America at some point. Hopefully he'll grow up and mature and realize that this is a business, and you need to stop being a freaking mark for yourself every 4 seconds. And that goes for a lot of people as well. But I'm all for Jack. Like, if the guy's got heat, if he can draw a rating, that doesn't say he's over, by the way. There's a difference between having heat and being over.
Right.
I wouldn't say that Jack Perry is over the way that he thinks he is.
No, he's not.
But he has heat. I mean, he has heat with all kinds of different, fan bases. But heat nonetheless. Therefore, if you can use it right, you can take heat and turn it into a good storyline. He can get over. This is really not it though. And they come in and it's like, okay, we're gonna have Jack talk to Tony, and they're doing the shtick, and I kind of like this shtick a little bit of the whole like Tony's just a rube.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a nice guy. It's like, yeah, he really is. He's a nice guy, and he's a really crappy booker, crappy promoter. Like, actually, no, I mean, promoter, he promotes his company.
He's a good promoter.
He's a good promoter. He's a horrible booker, and he's a horrible wrestling company leader. He doesn't know how to let, certain areas go and let the boys be managed by the boys. And there's a bunch of stuff that goes on in that backstage that we hear about all the time that we shouldn't be hearing about.
Yeah, exactly.
But so Tony comes out, he's a rube. They turn on him. They give him what's for. It looks good. But once again, it was kind of clunky.
Yeah, it was.
It's not like they were going to town on him. I mean, they give him the world's softest Meltzer driver.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you go back to 1997 and watch the first time that Vince McMahon took a stunner from Stone Cold Steve, can I say that now, or are you going to mute me?
I'll say
it. He existed. We're not going to pretend like people don't exist.
He exists. He's a real person. It's time to stop pretending.
I'm also going to say, let's see, Chris Benoit, Vince McMahon. What other bad words can I say? I
don't know.
Katie Vick.
Yeah. I think it's the main three.
Oh, yeah, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I just like to be controversial.
Of course.
But, yeah, no, like, the first time Vince ever took a stunner, it wasn't he did not sell it like a champ. It was the worst.
No.
It was the worst stunner ever taken in the.
Well, even the last time they took a stunner, it was horrible.
Yeah, well, I just said Linda McMahon took a better stunner than Vince did his first time.
Yes.
But so I'm not trying to crap on Tony for. I am joking. Like his ability to sell is terrible, but he's not a worker.
No.
So I mean, it's kind of, I say it in jest, but at the same time, they don't know how to tell story. Like what at the end of the day, what comes out of Wednesday? At the end of the day, I turn off my TV and I'm just like, they don't know how to tell stories.
No.
They know how to put wrestling matches together. They know how to, I mean, heck of a pay-per-view Dynasty was. And whenever they have pay-per-views, they have good pay-per-views that are entertaining to watch and, have some segments that make you think, oh, maybe they're getting some steam here. But then when the show comes on and we got to build from that pay-per-view, we take a giant dump.
Yeah.
A good 2 hour long, maybe you took a 15-day cleanse pill, all right, and you're getting some of that lower intestine, gobbledygook out of you.
Yeah.
And we're not sponsored by 15-day cleanse yet, but we should be. But like at the end of the day, they get us up to let us down.
Yeah.
And I don't think they do that on purpose. I don't think they know how to tell stories.
No. And honestly, they've booked a couple of matches so far with Double or Nothing because, you get Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné. But honestly,
I'm already tired of that story.
Yeah, I'm
You know
tired
what was
of that
going
story.
on during that entire time that Mercedes was grandstanding to Willow about injuring her? You know what I wanted to happen that entire time? I wanted Saraya to come out and be like, Biatch, did you just talk about taking months away from somebody's career? Because you took years away from mine.
Exactly.
Like, I had to go somewhere else to wrestle because of you.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's nothing that's booked for Double or Nothing. They're going to be great matches.
Yeah,
but there's no stakes. There's no storyline. There's nothing that we can sink our teeth into with anything so far. I mean, the only thing they've got is just great matches.
No, yeah. Great
and
matches.
there's nothing wrong with great matches. But it's like, okay, you've got good matches. Where do you go from there?
Well, it's like if all you can do is put on great matches, just have pay-per-views, don't have a TV show.
Exactly, yeah. Go back to what you did before. Whenever you first started out, have premium live events every quarter.
Yeah, because I think that's what kills them at the end of the day is having to actually put on content every week. That's what they can't do. They can put on great premium live events. And it's very much like, I think a lot of these workers, that's the issue, is that they go and they work for these companies that are not weekly episodic TV shows. So the promos they cut, how they piece together matches, how they do things, it's very much, it would be great if it was once a month.
See, that's what I'm thinking. It's kind of built or set up like it would be with an independent show that runs once a month.
Yeah.
It's like everything just looks, okay, that's interesting. Okay, I could have waited a little bit longer to watch that. Okay, but it's just like the timing of everything and just the spacing. I don't know.
It really
It's just
does.
hard for me to-
It shows just the difference between monthly or quarterly shows versus weekly episodic programming.
Yeah,
and it's
it feels
profoundly
like it
different.
should just be run once a month.
AEW at this point would be better. Yeah, they'd be better off if they didn't have Dynamite and they didn't have Collision and they just literally promoted matches. Because at the end of the day, what they do between pay-per-view to pay-per-view is not building the matches.
No, it's
like
not.
Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay, there was nothing that was done on a Wednesday or a Saturday night that made anybody want to watch that match anymore. People were already bought in from the first time they announced it. And Swerve Strickland versus Samoa Joe, yeah, they had a couple segments. Yeah, not terrible either, but at the end of the day, you could have literally just said Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe, World Heavyweight Championship for AEW.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting to the point now where anytime we do our predictions, it's mostly at WWE because anything AEW's put out, I think it's safe to say we've agreed on every single thing that's going to happen with any premium live event that AEW's put together.
Well, because it's predictable. Like I said,
it's extremely predictable.
Yeah, there's no storyline. There's no ability to subvert expectations. There's no ability to, think long-term storytelling. I mean, everything is like, here to get to here and then figure it out after that. So problem is that once they get there, like, oh, I thought I'd have something more by then.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't. So, I mean, for those of you who are watching, yes, we're kind of venting, and
but it's all in the hopes that AEW will rise from the ashes, and that hopefully something will come along, or that they'll put a creative team together that can actually put storylines behind these matches or behind these segments that they've got going on every single week. But yeah, like it's just us venting our frustrations with AEW right now because we want it to be in competition right now with WWE. Honestly, I know that they're competing right now, but I think if everybody's honest with themselves, AEW is no competition to WWE right now.
No, AEW is not in WWE's realm of relevance at the moment. A year or 2 years ago, that was a different story.
Yeah.
And I'll even give it this. Like, AEW is still a young promotion. And let's face it, before the NWO, the WCW's most notable faction was the Dungeon of Doom. And it wasn't notable for a good reason.
Yeah.
So, bad storytelling, bad booking. I mean, hopefully these are growing pains and we'll get out of them soon. But, when the head of your show is on national, the draft. I mean, the draft. Draft was watched by I want to say close to 20 million people.
Yeah. On
TV, and he's wearing a C collar, and you've got an actual ESPN specialist talking about your program, talking about how he was attacked, and he's doing this.
Now, nothing about this whole storyline.
I mean, it made all of wrestling look stupid.
Yeah.
He made professional wrestling look stupid on large scale television.
Yep.
And that makes me angry because WrestleMania made wrestling cool again.
Yeah.
And Tony's making it look like
a joke.
Yeah. So I don't like.
And I'm sure that anybody who has had any kind of, I say this because I've been in plays and stuff, but if you've had any idea of acting or anything like that, you know that if you're playing someone who has been injured or attacked, you know good and well not to move your neck back and forth whether you're injured or not.
Yeah.
If you're playing it, yeah, you're not supposed to do that. But even if you are, you're not supposed to do it either way.
Well, it's like if I had my arm in a cast, I wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's like I said, hopefully things will get better after Double or Nothing. But at this point,
we keep saying that. We just said last month. Hopefully things will get better after Dynasty.
Yeah.
Now we're saying hopefully it'll get better after Double or Nothing. At this point,
it's going to take some drastic measures to get this company back where it should be, to get it back in competition with WWE.
Yeah. So hopefully this upcoming week we'll. Like I say, hopefully we'll get something on Wednesday that will give us the opportunity to sink our teeth into something, because this last Wednesday, they took every potential storyline that they built during Dynasty or pre-Dynasty that I was thinking, okay, well now they've had some stuff to build off on.
Yeah. And
they literally just killed every angle last week. So I don't know what they're going to do moving forward here. I don't think there's no magical juice to be able to turn this around in one night. It's going to take a long time. I don't know, man.
It's going to be tough.
This last Wednesday was really, really hard to come away and say, okay, I'm gonna justify watching 2 hours of Dynamite again next week.
Right.
I'm
well, see, and I'm at the point right now because all the matches that they have, and I'm sorry to say this, but I fast forward through some of it just to get to the very end because
they're the same matches.
It's
Every
the exact
match is,
same.
It's 15 minutes long. There's 14 fake finishes. There's at least 2 minutes of slapping and chopping.
Yeah. It's all the same format and it's all the same style pretty much, and it's just getting tiresome.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say that this is an interesting note. So SmackDown this last week, and we'll get into talking about the draft a little bit more, but I will say balance. The AEW, a lot of wrestling, not a lot of storytelling. Maybe this week on Raw and SmackDown we had quite a bit of storytelling and not as much wrestling. Only 22 minutes of actual wrestling on SmackDown this last Friday.
Well, I mean, just because you got the draft going on, there's a whole lot more storytelling and a lot of segments going on.
That's true, but a 2 hour show and only 22 minutes of actual wrestling.
I mean, I get it, but I mean, still, with all that's going on and all the buildup that's happening towards Backlash with the draft going on, you're really not going to have a whole lot of time with wrestling.
No, I get it.
But it's okay because I mean, everything that went on during the draft, I think there was some pretty interesting shakeups, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. I know you probably have different opinions on that, but
no, I mean, I've been digesting the whole thing. Like, honestly, the draft thus far to me hasn't. You say shakeup, and I think to myself, what do you mean? I feel like the draft hasn't upset the status quo one bit yet. Like, you could honestly, like, it's right now, other than the NXT call-ups, what's different? Like, what is the draft been?
Well, I don't think anybody, I'll get into that here in just a little bit because I have some ideas as to how this is going to change the trajectory of some individuals that have been traded to different rosters. But I'll get to that here in a second. But, I mean, yeah, like we said before, the whole Jack Perry and Elite segment, it had promise.
It was garbage.
But, yeah, ultimately it was garbage. But moving from AEW, let's get into WWE with night one of the draft. There were two picks that I thought were pretty interesting because of how I think they could change their path and make it to an interesting storyline. One that I really liked was Braun Breaker being traded to Raw or drafted to Raw.
Yes.
Reason being is because with Cody Rhodes as the Universal Champion, Breaker doesn't need to challenge for the Universal title anytime soon.
No.
I like how they're building him up and having him have these squash matches because Braun Breaker is a beast. And then moving him to Monday Night Raw, I think it's going to be fantastic because I think, honestly, it'd be better for him to be World Heavyweight Champion than it would for him to be the Universal Champion right now.
Oh, absolutely. And truthfully, I didn't see Braun and Cody being on the same show ever being a possibility. Now, I was a little surprised at the beginning of the draft when they basically said that if you've got a title, you're where you're at. Like, you're not changing. Because I did fully expect Cody to bring the Universal Undisputed title over to Monday and continue being on Monday nights.
Right.
So the fact that Cody is now a Friday SmackDown and will only be on Fridays, that one was a little bit different. He's been Mondays since he came back. So for him to be a Friday guy now, that to me that is one dynamic that really does change.
Yeah, definitely.
And then so Priest is the World Heavyweight Champion on Monday. Cody's on Friday. Your Intercontinental Champion is going to stay on Raw, and then your SmackDown, the United States Champion is going to stay on SmackDown. Obviously, they've got the tag titles that are designated there,
right? And the women's titles.
The women's titles are cross promotional still.
The tag titles are.
Yeah, not the women's championships, but the women's tag titles. So, like the Kabuki Warriors, that was a gray area for me. I was like, so the Kabuki Warriors, they really are a SmackDown tag team.
Yeah,
but there's only one set of women's tag titles.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. I guess the problem with that is those titles aren't important enough to make a delineation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what that said. That's what the lack of that designation on the TV, what that tells you is we didn't even think about it because who gives a crap?
Right, exactly.
So that
honestly, I don't think anybody at this point cares about the women's tag titles.
And that's a problem because the women's tag title, any title that anybody carries, and especially like somebody like Asuka and Kairi Sane, a team like that,
that's a formidable team.
That's a fantastic team, and it's a waste of talent if you're going to put titles on them that are just going to be, useless, mean nothing titles. And, you look at, potential tag teams and things like that, like, Naomi and Bianca or Bianca and Jade Cargill. You've got Shayna and Zoe Stark. There's plenty of female tag teams that they are, that they've built or that they have, not to say that they've built them, but that they've put together. So to not be more intentional with that's one thing that I don't really like because if you're not going to give a title its due, just don't have it.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved the European Championship when it first came out, the European title, and when the British Bulldog won it, he made it a big deal.
Yeah.
He made being the European champion a big deal. And when Shawn Michaels beat him in Manchester for that title, it was a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
And then when Shawn dropped it to Triple H and basically the pre-poke of doom, but in a much more entertaining manner.
Yeah.
It devalued the European title.
Right.
And the European title maintained for a couple more years after that. And it was a lower mid-card title, and everyone knew that. But it was kind of like, okay, if you win the European, then you're in the running to maybe go for the Intercontinental. If you win the Intercontinental, then you can go run for the heavyweight title.
It's like climbing the hierarchy, essentially.
Exactly. So, the title should always have a hierarchy. But if the title means nothing and it doesn't have a hierarchy and it doesn't let people know that you're getting a push, then just get rid of it. Eventually the European title didn't mean anything, so they got rid of it. Same thing with the hardcore title. I loved the hardcore title, but at some point the hardcore title lost its value, so they got rid of it. Should you just keep a title to keep a title? Absolutely not.
No, not at all.
But if they're going to be if there's going to be women's tag team title, then we should be given a reason to care about them.
Yeah.
Especially if there's women's tag teams.
Yeah.
And there are.
Yeah.
So
there's quite a few.
So that part I would like say that was one thing from the draft that I did not like.
I got you. One that I thought was interesting was Nia Jax being traded or drafted over to SmackDown.
I wish you could have drafted to not WWE wrestling.
Well, here's the thing with that, and this is something that I didn't think about until later. With the bloodline of Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga being on SmackDown as well.
Yeah.
I am thinking, and I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but what if Nia Jax is brought in as one of the new members of the Bloodline?
Well, then she'll make the Bloodline suck.
Well, she'll dominate the women's division by a clear mile, just because of her size and stature, because she overpowers every single person that's on the roster, with the exception of Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill.
Hey, man, when I fart in an enclosed space, I clear a room too, but that doesn't mean you should put me on TV.
But still.
But I'm going to be on TV.
Yeah. but anyway, I just think that with the way the Bloodline is going currently, because you've got the mercenary, I'll just call him right now, of Tama Tonga, and Solo Sikoa just directing things now, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring Nia Jax along as well, just because of how she's carried through everyone already with only being there for 10 minutes.
I don't know. You definitely could see something like that. I mean, and knowing that WWE has brought in Jacob Fatu as well, it won't be. I mean, I fully expect if WWE has brought in Jacob Fatu that he is going to be the next phase. It's like we've got phase 2 of the Bloodline. You had phase 1 of the Bloodline, kind of like the MCU, and now we've got phase 2, which means that phase 3 is going to absolutely suck and no one's going to care. But I mean, if we're following the MCU here, but the fact of the matter is to me, Nia Jax is absolute garbage. She can't work. She's not believable. Her ability to cut a promo is highly limited. Her ability to sell in the ring is comical at best. She hurts people. She's not safe to work with. The Bloodline is full of really good professional wrestlers.
Well, see, and that's why I think she can benefit from being in that group or being around those guys, because
she's family with them. She's been around them for years.
Well, but still, professionally and personally,
you're so much more positive than me. You really want to give people hope, and you want to see things like, I believe in roses and rainbows.
I'm trying to think of the positives here, but trust me, I'll talk about the negatives as well.
The last time I thought positive was at a free clinic, and that didn't work out for me.
Whatever. But anyway, those were the main ones that I thought would be interesting, just as far as storylines go, because Braun Breaker on Raw is, I think, is better for him.
I think Braun Breaker on Raw is fantastic. I think that there are a lot of great matches. If Gunther stays on Raw, imagine Braun Breaker versus Gunther.
Oh, boy, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and then they say, you have Braun Breaker versus some really fantastic workers. I want to see Braun Breaker versus Finn Balor.
Yes.
There's a lot of really great stuff there. Like I said, so far in the draft, I haven't been mad. Like I said, I haven't been mad with any of the picks. But I'm not, I'm not surprised.
Right.
And I don't feel like...
They had a smaller draft pool on Friday night, but Monday night, they've got a much bigger draft to pull from, and they'll have more rounds as well, more picks.
Yeah, and like we say, like Braun, you say Braun traded over to Raw. Was he ever really on SmackDown?
Honestly, I don't think he was officially.
I don't think he was official. I mean, like, to me, it was more like he was traded out of NXT over to Raw.
Right. I mean, they had like a whole contract signing and all this whenever he signed with Nick Aldis and all of them. But I think now that he's drafted to Raw, I think this is going to officially begin. Like, he's finally out of NXT now.
Yeah, I mean, he's officially now. No more NXT. You know.
Well, no, I did forget one other one that was drafted to SmackDown from NXT. Carmelo Hayes.
Carmelo Hayes had himself a great match against Cody Rhodes on his first night.
Yes.
Carmelo Hayes, you know, I think we're all waiting for the call-up for Carmelo Hayes. We know once he dropped the title to Trick that I mean, he's been in NXT for a while.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think Carmelo, I'll say this, guys like Braun, guys like Carmelo, they've been in NXT for what we would call longer than the normal NXT duration.
Yeah.
And I don't think that had anything to do with them not being ready. I think that had everything to do with Hunter and Sean protecting these talents because of what happened over the last 5 years with NXT talents that were on fire, came over to Raw and SmackDown with huge accolades, and then were buried by McMahon because they weren't his creations.
Absolutely. But yeah, like they worked in cohesiveness with trying to keep these talents on the same trajectory of them going up and only going up from here. Because, I mean, Braun Breaker's on the path to becoming a world champion at some point. I would say later this year.
So we talked about this last week, and I said 2025 that I believe that he could hold a world title. I don't know that I would say he's going to hold a world title this year. I think that's too fast. I think that if you do that, you push too hard, too fast, you're going to get a backlash with the fans. Just like Vince, Vince booking has always done. If he does like something and he pushes it way too fast and you push it down to the people's throats and then they reject it. I think let Braun come in, let him continue to be hot for a little bit here, but then he needs to face somebody who's gonna, push his poo in.
Yeah.
And give him a little bit of a reality check. Give him something to overcome.
Yeah.
Just like Cody, like they did the hero story with Cody, and look how that's worked out.
Yeah.
Like he needs to come in, he needs to be hot, he needs to get his accolades, but then he needs to be humbled, and he needs to face adversity, and he needs to overcome that adversity. I think that it'd be great if he had an Intercontinental title or a tag team title before the end of this year. But I would actually. Not that anybody from WWE program is listening to us right now. Maybe they are.
That would be fantastic.
But if I add my 2 cents, I would not give a world title push to Carmelo or Braun at this juncture in their career on the main roster.
Yeah, I could see that. And then another one that I'm sure that's going to be pulled from NXT. I mean, we're recording this on Sunday, but it's going to go out on Monday. So I am fully convinced that they're going to pull at least one or two more from NXT. One of those being Ilya Dragunov. Because, I mean, he already...
I'm hoping to see that, yes. I'm absolutely hoping to see that tomorrow night or tonight, based on the fact that this is going to be going on a Monday. But
what you got?
The problem with taking Ilya Dragunov at this point is who's left in NXT.
You got Trick Williams.
You got Trick. You got Oba.
You got Sean Spears. You've got Dijak. You've got Joe Gacy.
I'm not a big Joe Gacy guy. Like,
really?
There's nothing about him that.
You got Oba.
Say Oba's fantastic, and I mean he's holding the North American title. So you can't exactly have Oba go against Trick right now.
Right.
Now you could have Trick versus Dijak.
Baron Corbin's still in NXT.
So you could have Baron Corbin go against Trick Williams.
Right. So I mean they still got some contenders left in NXT.
But I still would like to see Ilya and Trick for the title before he goes over to the main roster.
Well, I mean they already had that for spring break, and Trick beat him for the title.
When did this happen?
This happened just last week. You should really keep up with NXT every now and then,
dude. I'm telling you, I stopped watching NXT regularly when they turned it into NXT 2.0.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I did too.
I've gone back into watching some. I've watched some certain matches here and there, but hey, I'll be the first one to admit. So I mean, if Ilya's already fought against Trick and Trick's already beat him, then he's probably going to go over to the main roster.
Yeah. But essentially, I think that match that they had,
he'll go to, if he goes anywhere, he's going to go to SmackDown. Then.
You really think so?
Yeah, because if it's me. I'm not going to have Ilya against, unless they want to do Ilya versus Gunter immediately.
I don't know, because, I mean, you've got...
Because you can't put Ilya on the same show as Gunter and not have them come to blows. But I almost feel like if you get them on the main roster and you immediately have that, it's too soon.
Oh, no, they're not going to have that immediately. It's going to be a build-up to that. But from that time, you give Ilya opponents like when he had Shinsuke Nakamura. Mm-hmm. You give him opponents like Sheamus. You give him opponents like Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Ilya Dragunov and Drew McIntyre in a match at a premium live event?
That sounds pretty fantastic.
That's a Clash of the Castle matchup right there. Yeah, that's going to be coming up soon.
That would be really good. Sheamus needs to take the shame out of Sheamus, and he needs to get back into shape.
Because, as Drew McIntyre said, looks like he's been having burger after burger
after burger instead of banger after banger after banger. No,
I will say that was a pretty good burn.
Dude, I love Drew McIntyre for that promo because it's like, in the world of wrestling, that needs to get called out. And I know that it's such a body positivity, body shaming, blah, blah, blah. His body's still better than the average person's. I don't give a crap if his body's better than the average person. He doesn't get paid what the average person gets paid. He gets paid a lot more. And this is also a guy that has a YouTube and special channeling for his fitness. Like, he's always been shredded. I'm sorry, but you can't go from being shredded to having a dad bod, and we're not allowed to say anything about it.
Right.
Like, I mean, the fact of the matter is,
we have no room to talk. Well, we're not in the best shape either.
But if I did a complete transformation, I would dang sure want you to say something about it. I wouldn't want to be like, well, I don't want to talk about your body without your permission.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm fat. Talk about my body all you want. It's a kind of a big deal.
Yeah. No pun intended.
But no, it was 100% intended. My puns are intended. Okay.
Anyway.
But the fact of the matter is it's professional wrestling. You're going out there in a leotard and a Speedo. Like, we see your body.
Yeah.
And when you have man boobs and you went from having like an 8-pack to man boobs, we gotta talk about that.
Be like, what's going on, man?
And the wrestling world did not want to talk about that. Like Sheamus came out 2 weeks ago, and it's like everybody in the world should have been like, what's up, Flabby McFlap Tits? Like, and everyone's like, leave Sheamus alone. He just came back from injury. I'm like, dude, have you seen any professional wrestler that ever came back from injury? They looked a million times better.
With the exception of Kenny Omega.
Okay, well, diverticulitis is...
But I mean, still. Yeah. But just one exception out of like a whole bunch of other...
But like, look at Randy. Randy came back after a year off the shelf with a major... Like, we thought we may never see Randy again.
Yeah.
He comes back, and he looks like... Dude, he looked more jacked than he's ever looked before.
Yeah.
I mean, Triple H, when he came back from any of his quad injuries, came back and looked more roided out than ever before.
Yeah.
Like, and we like that. This is professional wrestling.
Indeed.
It's not just sports entertainment anymore. It's professional wrestling. And you know what? I like roids in professional wrestling. Just like I like roids in Major League Baseball. Bring back the roids, okay? I want 70 home runs a season, okay? I want guys whose heads look like Tic Tacs on their shoulders, okay? You can't tell me that the 90s baseball wasn't more entertaining than today's baseball. You got guys that look like Adam Cole walking up to the plate, and it's like, like, come on. Like, can we be real here? Professional wrestling, am I a Vince McMahon guy where I'm like, oh, I gotta see big man muscles and no. I like diversity of character. I like Shawn Michaels' physique. Sounds a little no homo. I like Shawn Michaels' physique. I like, big guys. I like small guys. I like there to be a array of different looks and different styles, and for the guys who are big to work smart for a big guy. They don't need to be, as much as I love Keith Lee, not everybody, that's Keith Lee or Dijak size needs to be doing the moves that Keith Lee and Dijak do. But then at the same time, like Sheamus, it ain't his promos, and really honestly, it ain't his ring work that's appealing for him. He's one of those guys that has a really good physique. He could use some self-tanner, but what am I supposed to get excited about with Sheamus, the dad bod Sheamus?
And he says I'm the one that's into big bumping meats.
I'm not into big. Like, listen, I like big.
You just went on a whole rant about roiding up.
Yeah. I mean, like, at the end of the day, if that's what you need to do to be TV ready, all right, like, do your job, okay? Do not come onto TV, and look like the average Joe and be like, yeah, I'm doing my best. No, man. We know when you're lying.
Anyways, I mean, that's our thoughts and opinions on night 1 of the draft. I mean, night 2, honestly, I'm excited to see what they're going to do from here on out, or to see who the call-ups are from NXT, or to see who's going to be changed to whichever brand. But it's going to be interesting. But we'll have to see how it goes.
I'll be curious to see if the Judgment Day makes it through this draft. Because, based on last week and then this last Monday, like I said, I'm kind of mixed up on my weeks right now.
Yeah.
But, like, based on the last 2 Raws, the Judgment Day has not been in great shape.
Which, honestly, it wouldn't be a bad thing if they moved Judgment Day to different brands.
Honestly, I think the best thing for the Judgment Day is if they killed it silently with the draft, because right now it's just kind of petering out.
Yeah.
Like, right now it's kind of petering out. You've got Damian with the title, Rhea out with an injury, which I think kills the whole. It's one of the things that just kills it, because I'm sorry, but the Judgment Day is built on the back of Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
Like, 100%. As much as I love Finn and as much as I love Damian, Rhea was the leader of the Judgment Day. So
100%.
with Rhea out, with Damian needing to focus on being the world champion, with Finn needing, for the love of Bob, a genuine push to a world title situation, which is what I'm really hoping will happen, is that the Judgment Day, that maybe like Dominic and JD will be drafted to SmackDown, that Finn will be there without those guys, and that Damian is going to, do his thing and not pay attention to Finn, and then Finn's going to be like, screw you, dude. I helped you get here, and you're not going to, and for a fact that this is where I wanted to be, and you're here, and you're not giving me a buddy's like title defense or nothing. I want to see Finn versus Damian soon, but like I said, I don't want that to be like a Judgment Day, like who's going to go with who, because at the end of the day, like, you take Finn out and you take Damian out, do I really give a crap between Dominic and JD McDonough about which side they choose? No, because it doesn't matter. Those guys are both jobbers. Now, Dominic's got some of the best heat in the entire business, but that's something we got to talk about earlier, is like heat versus being over. Like, Dominic's got heat.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I can say that Dominic's over.
Yeah.
Because, like, people want to see him lose, and that's great. You can use that to get someone over. But, like, he doesn't go into a match and I go, oh, yeah, he's going to win this match.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't have belief in Dominic Mysterio. And I think that's where the dividing line is there. So I'd like to have belief in Dominic Mysterio, because I do actually see a talented wrestler. It's just the way that he's currently being used, he's not showing that off. And that's not to kick the storytelling, because how he's being used right now is helpful to storytelling. Yeah. So, yeah, I'd like to see the Judgment Day kind of just go ahead and, split.
Just kind of disperse.
Split in the draft, kind of like, and not to say that this was done well, but like when they split up the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys in drafts, not to say that it was done well, but it at least gave them time to work on those solos careers. And then when they were brought back together, we appreciated it more. Yeah. As opposed to, like I say, okay, we get used to the same thing over and over again, and so we don't necessarily appreciate it because we're seeing the same thing over again. If the Judgment Day takes a pause, splits, things, go awry, and then, a year, 2 years down the road, we have an opportunity for the Judgment Day, to get back together. I like that opportunity. But yeah, with the draft, it'll be interesting to see what factions exist and what factions no longer exist after the end of this draft. so far, nothing, like I said, nothing major. I didn't think for 2 seconds that Roman was going to be eligible for the draft. So when Paul came out and said that he was not going anywhere, that surprised hopefully no one. I mean, if it did surprise you, get smarter.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like that wasn't surprising at all. You say keeping the champions there, I was a little surprised by it, but honestly, it's like I really didn't see, like I said, other than Cody.
Well, I mean, honestly, I like that they did it that way, just because, I mean, I didn't see any reason for any of the champions to swap brands.
No, yeah, it really wasn't a value added. Like I say, I was surprised that Cody didn't go Raw just because I figured he's kind of a Raw guy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, fine. Cody's over at Raw. We get to see, I mean, Cody's at SmackDown. We get to see Cody versus AJ Styles at Backlash.
It's going to be a great match.
No complaints were made by me.
Nope.
That's going to be a fantastic match. You know what I love? Is that they were allowed to talk, like they didn't come out and exactly say it.
They were able to hint.
But they were able to hint about the fact that they've never had this marquee match before, and that their paths have crossed so much. Like the fact that they both at some point were, AJ 100% was the leader of the Bullet Club at one point, and then you could say that Cody was the leader of the Bullet Club, that they'll always say, was it Cody or was it Kenny? But yeah, the fact of the matter is both these guys, went out and really cut their mustard more outside of WWE than inside of WWE. Cody, I'd say 50-50. AJ really, the twilight of his career has been WWE.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited for that match. And I guess I'll contradict myself. You wouldn't even have to build that match, but I love the promo that they had, because it wasn't a heel AJ, it wasn't a just white meat babyface Cody. It was two professionals of the sport that we love, of professional wrestling, giving each other their flowers, but saying it doesn't matter when I meet you in the ring. All this respect, handshake, and everything I'm giving you right now.
It's like it all goes out the window.
Yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. Whether it's lie, cheat, steal, murder, death, kill, I don't care. Yeah. I want that title. And that's how it should be.
Exactly.
That's when they say, unlike the women's tag team title, here we have the title being lifted up. Like this title, more important than, how much I respect you or your father, or, how much I respect you as a worker. This is the prize.
Yeah.
This is the only thing that matters.
Absolutely.
That's good wrestling storytelling.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll have to see how night 2 of the draft goes tonight. Tonight. I'll say tonight, because this is going to go out on Monday. But
this whole time swap thing is driving me crazy. I'm old. My brain is already deteriorating, and now you're making me more confused.
Right. It's okay. I'll make sure to keep you in check in a little bit.
I need my fish oil and my omega 3s.
All right, it's time for some high spots and botches.
Didn't we just do all that?
No, we hadn't gotten to it yet. I'm changing it up now, because I used to say, are you ready for some reviews? But we've been doing that pretty much the entirety of the episode. So I'm changing the format up. I'm having another change. I'm going to say, from now on, I'm going to go, it's time for some high spots and botches.
Okay.
Yeah. It's going to catch on. Don't worry about it. But anyway, I had a high spot until the NFL draft.
I had a high spot on last Saturday, but that's because it was 420. I'm just kidding.
I was about to say. But it was going to be the Jack Perry and Elite segment.
Yeah, it was.
Until Tony Khan got on the NFL draft and completely ruined it. Which I'm not going to give any more time to that, just because we've talked it to death pretty much. But yeah, just that whole segment was completely ruined. And so, really, my botch now, it was going to be a couple things on there, but now it's just Dynamite.
Yeah.
My botch this week was Dynamite. I didn't really have any other high spots, essentially, because, WWE was just kind of a leeway leading up to Backlash, so nothing really big or exciting, or nothing really new, I should say.
They're in creative purgatory because, as I say, they just got out of the most successful WrestleMania of all time, and, putting a pin on one of the longest stories of all time for both Roman and for Cody.
Yeah.
And you've got a month between this pay-per-view and Backlash. And Backlash is shaping up to be a good event, but it's not a storytelling event. It's if there's any rivalries that still haven't, fully fizzled out after WrestleMania. Put a pin in there, but more it's about building the new era. Like Backlash is like, okay, it's like, you can say that you get a chapter of a book is done and you open a new chapter. WrestleMania was not the end of a chapter. I would say WrestleMania 40 was the end of a book.
Yeah. And
we are now opening up the next book, same series, but new book.
Yeah.
Like it's no longer, let's say not, so we're building from not ground zero, but we're not in the middle of the story anymore.
Right.
So Backlash is kind of in that purgatory because they're creating the new stuff, so you can't exactly go full force on anything yet. You've got to give things time to organically build. So I think we're going to have a great show with Backlash. But the programming, I think over the next at least 2 to 3 weeks, post Backlash, I think we'll see more stuff probably by the time we get to the next pay-per-view. And what is that Clash at the Castle?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's Backlash and then Clash at the Castle.
I think by Clash at the Castle, I think Drew will be on. I think Drew will maintain on Raw.
Yeah.
I think Punk will maintain on Raw. And I think we'll get Punk versus McIntyre at Clash at the Castle. But yeah, so but I'm just saying, as far as the TV shows go, I think we'll probably get a lot of C+ episodes.
Yeah.
But honestly, C+ episodes when AEW gives us D-.
I'll take it.
I'm being kind.
Yeah.
I could say D+, but Chris Farley, Tommy Boy told us that D+ is a passable grade. So I can't give you a D+. You get a D-.
Yeah.
All right, Herbie Hancock, signed, sealed, delivered. Okay, not a passing grade, but yeah, no.
Yeah.
Botches, the botch. Yeah, it's just really is AEW as a whole.
Yeah.
Tony Khan making wrestlers look like complete dork losers on national television to 20 million plus viewers. That's a huge botch for me.
Okay.
But say and to say high spots. Like I said, nothing was fantastic. If I had to give anything a high spot, I would just say the match between Cody and Carmelo.
Yeah.
It was a good match. It wasn't for anything. They even said so. It was just him calling out his shot, trying to prove himself.
Yeah, which I would say he did.
And he did. And he was it was a main event match. It had a promo. It had a build-up, over the night. Like they talked about it, and they, and
AEW,
the fact
you're taking notes
and the fact that Cody is the champion, he solidifies that main event slot of the evening.
Yeah,
and that Carmelo taking a shot at him, it's not about winning, but it's about gaining respect. The story was laid out well, so that Cody doesn't have anything to go up or down with that match.
Right.
That was all about putting Carmelo in a position to. If you hadn't watched NXT, here's a guy to take seriously. They're telling you, we're putting you against Cody Rhodes. Take him seriously.
Yeah.
And that's what the Kyle Fletcher thing should have been. It should have been a main event match. I can sit there and I'll always say this. I witch and moan, but if I don't have a solution, then I should keep my mouth shut.
Right.
So let me just put this one here. How could they have done this better? Swerve comes out to have a title celebration at the very beginning of Dynamite. Nani's doing all of his stuff, la-di-da-di-da. Kyle Fletcher comes out to interrupt. And you're like, why is Kyle Fletcher coming out?
Well, I would do one better with that because, you could have Kyle Fletcher out, but have the Don Callis family in tow.
No, you could, but you don't even have to because, like you think, if you subvert the crowd, like Kyle Fletcher's coming out not with the Don Callis family, not with Will Ospreay, not with anybody else. And you're like, why is he coming out? And he can sit there and say, you came in, you've done this, da 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 da. I've been working, blah blah blah. I've never had a shot at a world title, and I know that I'm every bit as good as you. And just like you got your shot, and then finally, people started to take you seriously. I want my shot, and if you're half the man, if you're half the man that you say you are, then you'll let me have a shot. You just a simple promo of give me a shot and let me see what I can do. And have a guy like Swerve, who's not he's not a heel, he's not a face, he's just Swerve.
Yeah.
And you have him go, all right, you want to take these hands? I'll give you these hands. Like, that's stupid, but go ahead. I'll give it to you.
Right.
I'm not going to back down here. And then you build it. And you're like, you have people, and you have Don Callis coming to him in the background like, what are you doing? What are you doing challenging him without coming to me and talking to me about it first, blah, blah. And you have this whole, like, build up in the middle of just an episode.
Yeah.
And, like, it doesn't have to be this giant weekly thing. And then by then, you would have had Swerve versus Fletcher, the same match we already had in a different position, and it makes Swerve look like a defending champion, and it makes Kyle Fletcher look like more of a overcoming, somebody that you can get behind. It's somebody that we want to cheer for.
Yeah.
Because he's got guts. He's got those things that we as people intrinsically like. There you go. Just a couple tweaks. You still have the match. You have the exact same match. The exact same moves. Everything. Same amount of time. Whatever. But now you have a match that makes more sense. You have a match that puts a pedestal on the champion and makes the champion worth something. And it's not like, I'm the champion, and now I'm still also just opening up AEW with a nothing match.
Right, exactly.
So, like I said, tell us what you guys think. If we've done a lot of whining and complaining about AEW. If you think that AEW is the greatest thing since sliced bread, please tell me. I love arguing over the internet. Some people don't like it. My life is... just, I wouldn't say, that I have all the time in the world, but I can make it for you.
Oh, yeah. Me and him argued over DCCW.
What did we argue about?
You know the match I'm talking about, the tag team match.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
No. You want to poo-poo on somebody's victory, and at the end of the day, DWI won that match. Whether you want to say fair and square, they're and still the DCCW Tag Team Champions. So why don't you say congratulations first, and then, maybe like not on social media, air out your grievances.
Well, I'm just saying, a great match was ruined because of outside interference.
A great match was finished. It was already great. Don't take away from the greatness of the match. The match came to a conclusion.
I'm not taking away from the greatness, but...
You did.
You
said it was ruined. Ruined. That you took away. Like if I made a cake for you and you said it was ruined, you can't say that the cake is a great cake. It's a ruined cake.
Either way, I'm hoping that we have another rematch at some point with DWI against Chris Kane and Foxman X.
I hope that we have another match like that no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether it's for the championship or not. Those are all great workers, great talents. I think Chris Kane and, Foxman X could take a note from Nino, and work a little smarter, Don't always feel like you've got to do everything for the crowd. What's the crowd really going to give you? Come on. What you want is that title. What you want is that victor's purse.
You need to be one of those ones that unsubscribes to El Nino. Exactly. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening and thank you for watching our episode this week. If you haven't, like we said before, go subscribe to all of our social media that we have. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. All of our commentary content is on YouTube as well. And more content will be coming up soon at some point. But like we always like to say, guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, keep it 5 stars.